Know what your case is really worth? I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681, offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Got Jacob Beck and Kathy Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up, we are here with you. Fired up, you're here with us. Hope your work week's off to a good start, and we are off and running on this Tuesday. Sharif Aishat going to join us from Metairie, or I guess New Orleans, where he lives, coming up here in 15 minutes. Sharif was out west for a week. Get his thoughts on that and how he's assimilated back into the pressure cooker that is South Louisiana in early August. We'll talk with Glenn West at 1:30. Glenn's been out of practice for a week with LSU and was there at Brian Kelly's press conference today. So get some thoughts on LSU football with Glenn. We'll meet the freshman in hour number 2. Got some sound from Jacoby and Guillory. We want to play. Bruce Feldman's got his freaks list out. LSU's got a pair of players on the college football freaks list that Bruce Feldman annually puts out. So lots and lots and lots to do. I have my practice report from earlier this morning, and we'll get into a little bit of that. But there is some news from LSU football as Brian Kelly just met with the assembled local media and made the announcement that Mac Markway has decided not to play football at LSU this year. That's essentially all the information and all the detail that we got. There was no indication that Mac Markway is about to transfer, no indication that he's done playing football forever. Just that he and Brian Kelly had a conversation last night, and Mac Markway decided, I'm not going to play this year. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know anything. This is all brand new information to me in the last 45 minutes. All I can do is kind of give you what I think that means for the 2024 LSU football team to have Mac Markway pulled out of the equation. And I think it's pretty simple. When Brian Kelly took over at LSU, there was no semblance of a tight end presence. You had freshman Mason Taylor, and that was about it. And since then, he has methodically gone out and recruited high-level tight ends to restock the shelves. And as of 48 hours ago, I would look at LSU's tight end situation among the best in all of college football. I can't claim to know exactly who Boston College's tight ends are. I don't know who Ohio State's tight ends are. I don't know who Oregon's tight ends are. I just know who LSU's tight ends are, and they're really talented. And Mac Markway has now been removed from that equation. So what does that mean? Well, Mason Taylor is still the starter. He goes through every rep first. He looks great out there. He's making catches. We know he can block. He's a veteran. He understands his assignments. Mason Taylor is the starter at tight end and is among the top 2, 3, 4, 5 tight ends in the Southeastern Conference, no questions asked. And I feel really good about that. And then you have the 3 younger players who were kind of vying for time. Mac Markway is the most physical presence of all 3. He's 6'5" and well filled out and figured to be an inline blocker with the ability to catch the football in the intermediate part of the field. And then you've got 2 guys who were, quote unquote, to use a cliche, matchup nightmares. Kamorian Pimpton and Tradez Green are 6'6" and 6'7" respectively. They can both run, they can both jump, they can both catch. They are prototypes at the pass-catching tight end portion of this. Markway is not necessarily that. He's more so geared towards the run game. You can't purely just use one group for catching passes and one for running the football, but you become predictable by personnel in that way. But that's where their strength lies. So you pull Mac Markway out of that equation, and what do you have? You have a versatile starter in Mason Taylor who can do it all, and you got 2 guys who were brought here to catch passes that have to learn how to block a little bit better. And Brian Kelly talked about it today and said that he thought that Kamorian Pimpton was coming along more so as a blocker. And to be quite frank with you, I don't think Trey'Dez Green is going to be asked a ton this year to step in there and throw a ton of blocks at the line of scrimmage in pass protection. Not a ton of blocks in the run game. Now, that could change. If Mason Taylor goes down, which happens, you're going to have to become a more complete player. But right now, I think Mason Taylor and Kamorian Pimpton are the front of the line, and Trey'Dez Green is right behind Pimpton and has the most physical gifts of all three of those guys. We were out there on Friday, and we saw an entire session, an entire segment of practice, entire period of practice, where LSU was running 2 tight end sets. And the first 2 guys out there were Mason Taylor and Kamorian Pimpton. So I think if you are of the mind that you look at this news and you go, that guy he was going to be 4th string anyway, got passed up, who cares? I would suggest that's probably a little too cavalier. If you were to suggest, oh my God, they have no depth left, I would suggest that's probably a little bit of an overreaction. This hurts. You got 4 tight ends on scholarship. You'd like to have all 4 of them. In that way, it does hurt. But you've got real talent there. And you've got an all-conference level starter, which Mac Markway was not going to be a starter. And you've got a couple of guys backing him up who look to be very, very capable and at times can be real problems for the defense. Got to work on being more physical, got to work on blocking, but they've got some tools at their disposal that just not a lot of guys have. There's not a lot of 6'6" guys that can run and jump and have really long arms. Pimpton and then Trey'Dez Green at 6'7" are right there that way. So that's the news from the day. I think it hurts LSU, hurts the depth. They've still got real talent there at that spot. What I wanted to talk about now briefly in the second part of this little practice discussion is I watched a lot of pass rush one-on-ones again today. Starting offensive linemen were out there. Starting defensive linemen were out there. Certainly reserves there as well, and they were going one-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. And as I was watching it, I was like, this is a good day, I think, for both sides. I think the offensive line has kind of won their fair share. I think the defensive line has kind of won their share. It's felt pretty even. And so I took my notebook and I printed out this piece of paper, and I've got every matchup that I charted. I did not stay the entire time. I watched what turned out to be 24 of them, and then went and watched a little bit on the other field and saw some of the 7-on-7. But of the 24 I charted, I put a green dot next to the offensive wins and a red dot next to the defensive wins. I had 12 green dots and 12 red dots. I had 24 reps split right down the middle. And I think that's great. I think that's exactly what you want to see if you're a fan. I think Brad Davis would probably prefer that I saw 20 green dots. I think Bo Davis would probably prefer that I saw 20 red dots. But if you're looking at this from an overall perspective, it's what and what. And I think some of the things that stood out in the reps, first of all, this will come as a surprise to, let's see, how many are listening? 0 people listening. This will come as a surprise to 0 people. Will Campbell looks real good. He went against Paris Shan twice. Paris Shan's played a lot of college football. It looked like a walk in the park. I don't think Will Campbell's breaking a sweat in this drill. He gets into his set, bam, drops, catches whoever's rushing, stays right in front of him, dead square. It's the least action you see of anybody in the drill. There's no swim move by him. There's no bull rush by him. Nobody hits the ground. Will Campbell just stonewalls whoever shows up, and that's kind of the end of the rep. It's nobody on the offense or defense makes any of this look remotely as easy as Will Campbell does. And I can't claim to sit here and get into all the technical aspects in it and why he's as good as he is and why he's going to be a top 5 pick, but he's big, he's strong, he moves well, and nobody gets by him. I mean, he looks like it. The reps don't even last a long time. Sometimes because there's a little bit of a mess or there's, maybe a guy's getting a little bit too wide and the offensive lineman's running him off, or maybe there's an offensive lineman that's taking charge. Like sometimes the reps take a while. The whistle gets blown in no time when Will Campbell's up there. It's just easy for him. The other thing that caught my eye, Jacobian Guillory had 2 great bull rushes in his 2 reps. He drove DJ Chester one time and Miles Frazier another time back deep into the backfield. And I thought that was really impressive. He never shook free of them, but he fired off and he bull rushed. And I realized that bull rush is tough to deal with in this setting, and that's going to be Jacobian Guillory's game. But I was impressed by those 2 bull rushes. JVR Suggs won a couple of reps against a pair of 2s. Saw JVR Suggs beat Cohen Eccles, the second-team senior. center, and also saw him beat Paul Mabenga, second-team guard. So good day for JVR Suggs. And I think that was probably the most impressive that I saw. Of note to some of you that are listening, some of the guys that are maybe buzzwords for you all, Deshaun Womack got by Weston Davis on a really good speed rush. He dipped that shoulder, got around him, and got clean to where the quarterback would have been off the offensive right side. I thought that was really good. Dominic McKinley also got a rep over Weston Davis as well. So two of the young pass rushers beating one of the young tackles who's a guy that I think the staff really likes in Weston Davis. Was there one that Weston Davis won? I thought there was. I may not have charted every single one there, and I don't see it. But he did have a couple of good reps, and so I think that there's a good base there and a good athleticism there to Weston Davis. Couple of the starter-on-starter matchups. Miles Frazier beat Gio Paez. DJ Chester beat Gio Paez as well. And I thought Ori Williams had two really good reps over Kalaj Collins and Gabe Relaford, two young players that are in his class. Ori Williams is massive. And this is something I have noticed about all these linemen when I get out there and I'm seeing the starters and the reserves. And this is very much expected. This is to be expected. I could go back and pull the audio because I remember doing the segment. It was right when Brian Kelly got hired. And I went back and looked at all the guys that Brian Kelly had drafted on the offensive line from Notre Dame. And I went back to their recruiting profiles and I looked at their height and weight when they were high school seniors and their height and weight when they got drafted. And basically 100% of them were very lean players as high schoolers that filled out over time at Notre Dame and became first, second, third round picks. And you look at LSU's offensive linemen to a man, and all of them are long and lean, and nobody, by my eye, is carrying bad weight. And there are times where you have guys that carry bad weight and they slim up. There are times where guys look like they're carrying bad weight and they're still dominant players. Trey Turner did not look like he was in peak physical form at LSU. He kicked ass for 2 years as a starting offensive lineman. There's nothing wrong with having a guard that's 340 pounds if he carries it well and plays well. That's a perfectly acceptable weight to play offensive line at if you're capable of doing it. And Trey Turner was. LSU doesn't have any of those guys on this roster. Everybody is long and lean, from the freshmen to the juniors and seniors. That's just the way that Brian Kelly prefers to recruit and develop his offensive linemen. Clearly, Brad Davis feels the same way. Those guys look good, but I thought it was a good day for the defense as well. You saw Don McKinley, JVR Suggs, Ahmad Bro, Kima Makanioli. Those guys all winning reps. So Jacoby and Guillory winning reps on the pass rush drill, which was good. I think a lot of people made a lot of my comments yesterday talking about how dominant the offense was in the passing game yesterday in the one-on-ones. I thought today was a split on the pass rush for what I saw, which wasn't 100% of the reps. Matt did stay a little bit longer than I did over on that side of the field, so he may have some more information on his show later today. But I thought it was a nice day for both lines of scrimmage in the one-on-one. So that's your look at LSU practice from this morning. I have a little bit more that I want to get to, plus some sound from Jacoby and Guillory a little bit later. We'll talk some more LSU with Glenn West in 15 minutes. When we come back, Sharif Ishak, WDSU, back in South Louisiana. We'll talk some Saints with him coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments of the summer. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the summer months. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Modesto, Burbank at Nicholson. Wes Reynolds and Scott Rabelais among our guests. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday from Modesto on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
There's a lot of news flying around this time of year. You never know what you can take at face value. I did get reports that yesterday there was a man seen in the French Quarter in New Orleans. He was second lining, catching a real nice sweat, had Mardi Gras beads all over his chest, was eating a shrimp po' boy, just so happy to be back in the city of New Orleans, wanted to experience all the culture as quickly as possible. That man was Sharif Ishaq, back from California. How was the po' boy yesterday? Did you enjoy the French Quarter? Do you still have the Mardi Gras beads on? I mean, how happy are you to be back?
I haven't shaved my face. I'm hungover. I'm still drinking. Still trying to finish off this po' boy and his hand grenade. Got a hurricane in the other hand.
Lovely.
Tank.
Wow, that's very special. Get some beignets while you're at it. How was your time in California? Did you enjoy it?
I wish I didn't have to come back. You know, when they were in the Greenbrier, I was like, please, I would love to go home like after 2 days. But out there in Orange County, I was like, yeah, I could stay for the whole time. But
they have any good food out there? I know the weather's good.
The food was okay. I mean, it was fine. Weather was awesome.
How was the football?
Well, it depends on what you defined as like what's good and what's bad and what position you were looking at. I mean, there was like so much going on. I mean, by the time we left, it was practice number 11.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's when you get down to the nitty-gritty, the depth, what's really going on, the quarterback, progress for, the backups and as well as Derek Carr, the receivers, the offensive line. I mean, it all depends on like what you really want to know, what you really were watching those 11 practices. Well,
you've gotten a lot of looks at Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor because Marshawn Lattimore has been out, and then you've obviously seen Paulson Adebo miss the last couple of days as well. So how do you feel about the depth at cornerback now because those guys have gotten some extended looks early on in camp?
Well, we'll start with Alontae. I feel like he's one of the top players this training camp so far. I think he's progressed. I would say of the 11 practices, he might have had one bad practice if you combine everything he's done like the wrong way, but 10 good practices to me seems pretty good. I mean, the one-on-one battles between he and Chris Olave have been great for trash talking. The guys just chirping away left and right. It's been great theater to me watching those two guys go head to head. And like they say, iron sharpens iron. I think those two going against each other makes life better for each one of them. And I feel like, whether if he plays the slot or outside, I think he's going to be in good shape. For the future-wise, I think Alante is going to be the guy on the outside once they're, figure out what they're going to do with Marshawn Lattimore, which I just don't see it lasting past this season. So I love the way he's been playing. I mean, physical, gets a little handsy, but makes the play on the ball. He's been high-pointing the ball a lot this training camp, and that's what's been very exciting to see from him. As far as Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's still kind of working his way back. He's 100% healthy. He did say that, he felt healthy during the mandatory minicamp, near the end of mandatory minicamp. But, he's still learning. He's also learning whether he's going to be inside or outside. He didn't really play much slot at Alabama in terms of experience-wise, but they did it a lot in practice, and now that's where he's been playing with the Saints. Seeing a lot of him in the slot. But he's gotten his chance on the outside, and he's looked all right. He's been running with the 2s and 3s because he missed a lot of time because of that foot injury.
No question. So, I mean, if they're not healthy, then nobody's as good as they could be if their players aren't healthy. But if we can try to assume for a second that Marshawn Lattimore gets back to health, which is certainly not a guarantee, and that Paulson Adebo is healthy for the opener, and you look at that secondary, specifically at corner, and then you look at how Chase Young has looked, which has been phenomenal by everyone's account, and you look at Carl Granderson, and you figure Brian Brzee takes a step forward. Do you start to feel pretty good about where the Saints are on defense?
Yeah, like you said, Hunt, health is the number one thing with this team. They've got to stay healthy for pretty much the whole season to have a chance to make the playoffs. But yeah, man, I really like the defensive line. That was one of the low spots last year. They only had 22 sacks from that defensive line last year. They had 34 as a team, but 22 came from them. And that isn't good enough. I mean, you got to affect the quarterback, whether it's not sacks or you've got to affect the quarterback in some way. And it really wasn't that good at times last year when they needed it the most. So, Brian Brzee, he has to improve his run game, his run defense. He knows that. That's the number one thing he's been working on this camp and this offseason. But, yeah, I like Chase Young. Chase Young is, a specimen, man, a Greek god out there, and he's playing that part so far. Carl Granderson has been in the backfield essentially every single team drill. That's what it's felt like. And they have Cam Jordan moving on that defensive line. He's inside and outside. So, yeah, I like the depth of the defensive line. Now, if you can get Foskey to hit, Peyton Turner to stay healthy. Whenever he missed practice the other day with that toe injury, and Dennis said it was the same toe as last year, everyone was like, oh, boy, here we go again. It's the same toe, same issues with him, but he came back to practice the next day. So, I like that. I like that aspect of it. But, yeah, Marshawn and Debo at cornerback, if you can get them healthy playing at a high level, with the additions of Alante and Kool-Aid, look, they can have one of the deeper secondaries in the entire NFL, and probably one of the better secondaries in the NFL.
Sharif Ishak is our guest. WDSU down in New Orleans, been out west with the black and gold for over a week, just back into the Crescent City. All right, offense. I have not asked a lot about Taliese Fuanga. That's a big position that he's manning there at left tackle, but I haven't heard that there's any sort of rotation there. It sounds like they're giving it to the rookie and letting him run. What'd you see?
Yeah, I was talking to Deuce McAllister the other day during practice, and I asked him, hey, who do you think's the best offensive lineman up to this point? And I think we both agreed that Taliese Fuanga has been very good and probably the best offensive lineman in this camp. So, yeah, I think he's going to have to be the guy at left tackle. And it's so fun to watch him go against, Chase Young or Cam Jordan or Carl Granderson and him do so well against them. Sometimes he's getting beat. It's natural because, he's somewhat playing a position he didn't play a lot in college, but I've been impressed. I love his composure. I love the way his hands are moving, his feet are moving. I think it's fluid with him, and I can only imagine with 1 year under his belt how good he's going to be.
I specifically didn't ask anybody on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday last week about Trevor Penning because I thought it was all we had talked about really for the first week of camp. I'll reintroduce that here. Let's go to the other side of the offensive line. Any improvement there from Penning?
It's the same. It really is the same, Hunt. Anytime you ask me the question, yeah, he's getting better, but there are times when he's just missing, and it's missing against guys he shouldn't miss against, not picking up the blitzers sometimes. And it's good. When I talked to John Benton last week I said, hey, everything's, is Trevor Penning a bust or not? Can he play this position? And he said, look, he's improving, got ways to go. I mean, we're going to say that about all of our offensive linemen. We understand how much, pressure's on him to be good this year, but he's steadily getting better. He's steadily learning that position. And the one thing he did is he reached out to Teron Armstead this offseason to try to, help him with the techniques and the fundamentals of the game. And he said Teron really gave him a lot of good advice. So, well, I mean, none of this stuff really matters. I know when we say when they put pads on, it's going to matter a lot, and it has, but it doesn't matter until they play like some of these preseason games and the regular season games. It could look great, and it can look bad right now and great later. Great right now and bad later. But to me, I need to see against the number ones when they go and when those lights come on and they go in against number one. I need to see what Trevor Penning's doing. I need to see what Fraga's doing. So to me, it's it's a hit and miss right now with Trevor.
Who do you expect to see running the football on Saturday for the Saints in this first preseason game?
I'd love to know how many the starters are going to play.
Probably not very many based on what I'm seeing around the league. It doesn't sound like a lot of starters are going out there.
No. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd see them taking a couple of series, game 2, then a little bit more in that final game, because that's kind of the game plan they had last year. But you got to remember, they're installing a new offense with a new offensive coordinator. So at some point in time, you got to have to give them a lot more reps in these last 2 games. So,
well, either way, Kamara's not going to be out there on Saturday. So, who is?
I would say, I'd say Jamal Williams is going to get some run. He's going to get a lot of run. He wants to play in these games, and this is a guy who's out there before anyone for practice. That's, he's dedicated. He feels like he might have let himself down last year, not having he only had that one touchdown, the petty touchdown against the Falcons. I feel like he has more to give. I mean, he's serious about just trying to be, a big part of this offense. So I see him playing. I mean, then you got Jordan Mims out there. You have Cabote from ULL. So you got running backs, James Robinson. You're going to see a little bit of all of them. Just not much of. You're probably not going to see much of Jamal. Of course, no Kamara. So that's what's going to be running the ball. I mean, that's what they have.
Anything else that you're looking for on Saturday? I realize you're going to see a lot of guys who are potentially about to get cut out there on Saturday, but anything that you'll be looking for in the game?
Hunt, this team's got to figure it out after Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
It really hasn't been good. I mean, the offensive line and receivers are the areas that, with Clint Kubiak running a new offense, it's got to get right. You just can't have 2 receivers. I mean, Dallin Holker, plays as a tight end. It feels like he's a receiver, but this team needs to find 3, 4, 5 at receiver. They've got to solidify those positions going into the regular season, because so far, no one has grabbed a 3, 4, 5. No one. The closest would be Cedric Wilson, and it's a stretch right now. It's just been that bad. I mean, maybe, how about this? Mason Tipton, the undrafted rookie from Yale, has probably played better than everyone else outside of Olave and Shaheed.
All right, I guess we shall see. Welcome back to New Orleans. Enjoy some oysters from Acme. Stand in line around the corner at Mother's for an hour and a half for a po' boy. Go get a tarot card reading or something in Jackson Square. Just do all the tourist stuff. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'll go run through some potholes. I'll do a little bit of everything.
We'll talk next week. Sharif, thanks.
How many?
He's Sharif Ishak, WDSU, reacclimating to the South Louisiana culture after a week out in sunny SoCal. We appreciate him for giving us a little bit of time early here on this Tuesday. We'll take a time out when we come back. Glenn West has been out at practice for a week and a half with LSU. Was there to hear Brian Kelly speak today, so we'll talk with Glenn coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. They're right there on Starring near Highland Road. Robbie Bolton, about 2 decades as a physical therapist here in Baton Rouge. He's looking for active people who are not able to be their general active selves. If you're a runner, but you're dealing with some discomfort and some pain, maybe you've been injured or been in an accident and want to get back to it, go to Evolve Physical Therapy. Let him help you do it. If you're 65 years old and just trying to get back out on the golf course or the tennis court, go to Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy. They will help you with it. Maybe there's a youth athlete in your home who's been injured or not feeling right for whatever reason. It's not too young. Go to physical therapy. Robbie Bolton and his team would love to see you. They're looking for anyone who's active, looking to get back to his or her active self. They do soft tissue manipulation. They do cupping, dry needling. They do some scraping, isokinetic testing. And Robbie says this: if you don't like the physical therapy clinic that maybe you were sent to, go to Evolve. And once he sees you, he will see you forever. That's what Robbie always tells me. Go to the guy who professional athletes have trusted with their bodies. It's Kevin Gosman, Austin Nola. The list goes on and on and on from folks over at LSU. It's Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy. They're online at evolvept.com. Starring near Highland Road, Robbie Bolton and Evolve Physical Therapy, evolvept.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets reporters after LSU practice. We'll visit with Shea Dixon and Ross Jackson with the Saints Report, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Shout out to the folks at Pluckers. We are back in action this week. Sports Trivia took last week off. They're putting some new floors in the Nicholson location. They are ready to roll, so we'll be there tonight, 8:30 for Sports Trivia. If you're looking for something to do, come on out, watch some Olympics, watch some baseball, answer some trivia questions, win Plucker gift card, drink some cold beer, eat some delicious wings. We always enjoy our time over at Pluckers. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. Glenn West, Go 24/7, always with us on Tuesdays. Joins us now via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
Just started to cool off. How about you, Hunt?
I've been cool for a while. I just bolted out of practice, went and grabbed a shower, changed clothes, and headed into the office. I know y'all had to hang around for a little more of practice and then some Brian Kelly. So glad to hear that you're equalizing a little bit. The news of the day, I guess, from Brian Kelly's perspective, was that Mac Markway apparently alerted him last night that he's not going to play football this year. What was your reaction to hearing that news?
Yeah, a little surprised. I mean, I think when you look at the numbers and you kind of look at what has transpired these first few days on the field, it's not a total shocker that